Calling this meeting to order. This is at 6:04. This is a meeting of the whole. Would you please call the roll, please?
Adams. Here. Jones. Here. Separati.
Excused.
Jackson.
Here.
Brownlee.
Here.
Tujansky.
Here.
Agee. Here. Albers.
Here. Our purpose of this meeting from 6 to 7 is to get a little more clarification and information from our folks from the auditor's office who have been working diligently for the past year almost, I think. It's almost been a year. And they are going to be able to answer questions for us, to talk about the process, and to give us some information about the next step that we need to take. So if you'd like to take the floor, and then there will be questions, I'm sure, that the mayor and the council will have for you.
All right, good evening, everyone. If you can't hear me, please tell me. I'll try to pipe it up a little bit. Can you hear me?
We can. Can you? I'll do that.
I don't know if my recording or Thank you.
Go ahead.
All right, is that a little bit better?
Well, I think if you talk right into it, you'll come across much better. Move closer.
Okay, in front of you is the analysis that was done to place the city into fiscal emergency. It's on the Auditor State website, so if anybody ever wants a copy of it, it's out there. You just search audits and search the city of Maple Heights. Excuse me. What I'd like to do, first of all, is go through the report. Tish and I are going to alternate conditions. Oh, that's true. I should introduce myself. I'm Nita Hendricks. I was here before, met with you. I'm the Chief Project Manager for Northeast Ohio. This is Tisha Turner. She's our Assistant Chief for Northeast. And we were the two of the three people that worked on the analysis that you'll see in front of you. So basically, what you see is an analysis for fiscal emergency that has 6 conditions. So there are 6 different conditions that a city can meet to be placed into fiscal emergency. I'm going to ask you to please go to page 5, 6, and it ends up on page 7. That's condition 1. Condition 1 is default on any debt obligation. Now keep in mind, these 6 conditions are in Ohio Revised Code 118. They're very specific. We follow them to the letter, exactly what's in the code, okay? So in front of you, what we did was we looked at the city's debt at December 31st of 2014 and January 31st of 2014. So you see all the different debt obligations for the city of Maple Heights. On page 5. On page 6, same thing. That was December, now January. At the time of the analysis, there were 3 debt obligations that were more than 30 days past due. That's the trigger. 30 days or more past due triggers condition 1. So there were 3 different loans with OWDA. What we did was we looked at the city's payables, actual expenditures to see if a check was cut to OWDA. We also spoke with OWDA, and we also got a confirmation off the website from OWDA. All of those items said that the city did not meet the debt obligation. It was 30 days or more past due. Hence, the city met condition 1. Okay?
Pardon me. Instead of abbreviations, we have it in front of us so we can see what you mean, but the audience probably don't know what OWDA means.
OWDA is Ohio Public Works Commission. It's a place where, sorry, wrong one, Ohio Water Development Authority, thank you. That's one of the agencies where cities can borrow money to do, water, sewer expenditures, projects, capital projects.
The next condition, condition 2, is payment of payroll. We follow Ohio Revised Code 118 again, and we look to see whether or not the city has made all of their payroll as of January 31st, 2015. What we did was we confirmed that the payroll hit the city's expenditures and then was deposited into their special payroll account and was then dispersed to the employees. So as of January 31st, 2015, the city did make all their payrolls and the city did not meet this condition 118.
Okay, condition 3 is on page 8. Condition 3 is increase in minimum levy. What we do for that condition is send a letter to the county fiscal officer. Say, hey, county fiscal officer, did you take any millage from any other subdivision in the county and give it to Maple Heights? And the county said, no, everybody got the millage that was earned to them. We didn't take it from anyone else and give it to Maple Heights. So again, condition 3 was not met on January 31st.
The next condition, condition 4, is past due accounts payable from the general fund and all the other special funds. What we did was we reviewed all the payables of the city from December 31st on, and we looked for any payables that were at least 30 days overdue. In our search, we did not find any payables over 30 days. So the city was current on all their payables within the 30 days. So the city did not meet condition 4 as of December 31st. And since the city did not meet it at December 31st, January 31st was not necessary to analyze.
All right, condition 5 is on page 9. The city did meet this condition, deficit fund balances. This is a very common one. Most entities that the Auditor of State places in fiscal emergency meet this condition. You can see the table on page 9. I'm going to walk you through very simply what's on the table. First column on the far left lists the 2 funds that, according to the financial statements at year-end, had deficit fund balances. Those deficit fund balances are under the cash fund balance column. Less encumbrances, those monies were spoken for, the liability was there. So you add the first 2 columns of numbers to get the 3rd column of numbers, the adjusted aggregate. From that, the code is very specific. It says for fiscal emergency, you subtract 1/6 of the general fund budget or 1/6 of revenues for any and all other funds. The amended certificate from the county was used to get that $2,163,000. The actual fund receipts for bond retirement were the $131,000, 1/6 of total revenues, 1/6 of total estimated receipts for the general fund. Let's just take the general fund column, the minus $2,694,000 plus the 1/6 revenues coming in to take care of it, because the code's thinking, okay, 2 months of revenues, if you have 2 months of revenues that can take care of it, you wouldn't qualify for emergency. Unfortunately, the revenues were not enough to take care of the adjusted aggregate. It left an unprovided deficit of $531,000. The same type of calculation was done for the bond retirement fund, which gave you $610,000. There was a fund available for transfer at that time, unrestricted, that could be used at $21,000, which gave a total unprovided aggregate deficit of just under $590,000. So that's what met condition 5.
Our final condition under 118 starts on page 10, and that is the treasury difference. And you can see Schedule 2 starts on the lower 3/4 of a page. We start at the top part of the table with the bank cash balances, and those are just the balances right off of the bank statements. And we account for any adjustments, things as deposit in transits and any outstanding checks to come to a total treasury balance. Then every fund that has a positive fund balance at 12/31 is subtracted from that treasury balance, and you can see it continues on to page 11, leaving a treasury deficit of $2.7 million. Again, just like with condition 5, we looked at 1/6 of the treasury receipts to see if the first 2 months is going to clean up the deficit. And 1/6 of those treasury receipts were just under 3.4 million, leaving the city with a treasury surplus of just under 600,000. Therefore, the city did not qualify under condition 6 for fiscal emergency.
Okay, that's basically the report. It's not very long. Do you have any questions on the report before we answer any and all other questions you may have?
In order for the city to,
Please be recognized, Mr.
I'm sorry, Councilman Jackson, District 4. I'm supposed to ask who? To the chair.
Go ahead, Councilman Jackson.
Ask Ms. Hendricks a question.
Yes, you may.
In order for the city to be removed from fiscal emergency, what would have to happen?
Now that the city is in fiscal emergency, we, at the Auditor of State's Office, are going to compile an accounting report. That accounting report is going to look at all your different accounting areas. Any department that gets money, anybody that spends money, we look at that area. We look at payroll, we look at the capital assets area, we look at receipts, any disbursements, any payables you have, budgetary. There's several different categories we look at. We can have a sample report for you. There's tons on the Auditor of State website. The accounting report, we come in and look at all your aspects and any deficiencies or anything that needs corrected that we put in that report. That report will be put together and that will be part of our guide. In order to come out of fiscal emergency, the city will need to correct any deficiencies that would show up in that report. They would also have to eliminate the 2 conditions that put the city in fiscal emergency, as well as not creating a new one. So we would do these 6 conditions again. It would be done at a year end. So it wouldn't be done in February, March. We have to wait until December 31st for the year to close. The city also has to come up with a positive 5-year forecast for the funds that put them in fiscal emergency. So you need a positive 5-year forecast, address all the comments in the accounting report, and meet no conditions of fiscal emergency, a clean roll up.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. And when you're in fiscal emergency, the main objective of the city initially is to come up with a recovery plan, and that will be the mayor and council with this recovery plan, the city will need to met the objectives in that recovery plan. So,
And that recovery plan covering, is that the 5-year, and this is a different plan?
it kind of goes hand in hand. The recovery plan will be put together by the city. We will then take that plan and work with your finance department in putting dollar amounts to each item in the plan. Again, they're revenue generating or they're expenditure reductions or a combination of the two. It's not, different than any place else. We'll help confirm that those dollar amounts are legitimate. We will then put those into a 5-year forecast, and that goes in conjunction with the plan, and then that will help the mayor and council and the commission see if that plan actually works. Because the numbers are put into we take your budget numbers, and then we work those numbers into the plan. So the 5-year forecast is driven from the recovery plan.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Councilman Alex Adams, District 1. The commission that's going to be formed, what are their duties and what do they actually do? Do they guide us, or do they inform us, or do they take action on the plan?
Would you begin at the beginning with the applications and all of that, just so we walk us
You'd like to know
through?
the makeup of the commission? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
I'm Eunice Smith, and I'm the Chief of Local Government Services for the Auditor State's Office. The commission, the Financial Planning and Supervision Commission, will be made up of a designee from the Office of Budget and Management. That person will chair the commission. There'll also be a designee from the Treasurer's Office. The Treasurer's Office. The mayor and the administration will have 3 local folks that will be appointed to the commission. So the mayor and the administration have to submit names to the governor's office. From the names submitted, the governor will choose 3 local folks to sit on the commission. In addition to those 3 folks, the mayor of the city and the president council sits on the commission. Once the commission is in place, they take the responsibility of really kind of guiding you back to solvency. They will make suggestions for your recovery plan. They have to approve the recovery plan. They have to approve any debt. So once that commission is seated, you really act on what's in that recovery plan. So whatever you put in that recovery plan, that's what you live by, and that's what the commission will hold your feet to the fire. They will make suggestions. They don't come in and take over the council. They don't come over and take over the administration. They're here to help guide you back to solvency.
And they meet how many times?
Pardon me?
How often are they expected to meet?
Well, they'll decide that once they're seated. Once they're in place, they'll decide how often they're going to meet. Remember, once you are declared, you have 120 days from the date of declaration to get that recovery plan in place. So initially, you may meet once or twice a month, but as you're further in, it will probably just be once a month. But I can't speak for the commission. You'll have to wait until they're put in place.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from council here?
Madam Chair.
I believe Mr. Adams had a question.
What is the qualifications that the governor looks at for the people that's appointed to this commission?
Well, the qualifications is in the code. For the local folks, you have to have a business either in the city. You have to have business background, so you just can't be someone that don't have any knowledge of business and revenues and budgets, and so you have to have a financial background. So.
Okay. Councilman Brownlee, you had a question?
Yes, Madam Chair. Regarding the fiscal emergency analysis, on page 11, you went over the treasury balances. And if I understand it correctly, you added up all of the positive fund balances, kind of from our checkbook, if you will, and then you compared that to the amount of cash we had in the bank. What causes those two not to line up?
Okay. On page 10, let's go to page 10.
A little bit louder, please.
There's a row, total treasury balance. Okay? The reconciled treasury balance, 36,661 in the red. Okay? You subtract from that all the positive balances for all the funds that have positive balances, okay? That's 2,758,000 on the second page, on page 11. You end up with a negative 2,794,000, okay? If you go back to page 9, and you look at the first column of numbers in that table, you probably see a direct correlation. What the table on page 10 and 11 does is kind of just leaves you with your deficit funds. So it takes all the positive ones out and leaves you with just the deficits. And then it's again, will 1/6 of the revenues take care of it?
What the analysis is really saying to you, if the city would shut its doors today, right now, you have $2,758,000 of positive funds, but your cash, you don't have enough cash to cover that. You wouldn't be able to pay off all your fund balances. That's what it's saying to you, that you don't have enough cash. Without factoring in that 1/6 of the revenue that's coming in.
So let me see if I understand this correctly. It sounds to me, if I were doing this in my personal finances, I would say something's off. I would expect, if I had positive funds balances listed, that there would be that amount of cash in the bank. So why is that amount of cash not there? That was kind of the gist of my question.
Because your deficits are not in this particular criteria. It's not included.
Right. I understand. I'm not questioning the analysis. I'm just trying to understand
Yeah, just pull out all
what
your
brought us to there.
deficits. Just pull out all your deficits and don't even include them in the calculation.
So it's the fact that we spent money from a fund that didn't have enough money in it that caused there to not be enough cash in the bank to match up with our positive fund balances. Is that right?
If you had, like, to keep it simple, if you had $5 in the bank and you had two funds, and one fund had a positive 7 and the other one had a -2, you still have $5 in the bank. But this analysis, we take the $5 in the bank minus the $7 in the positive. So that's how we view it. So since if all your funds were positive, it would match the money in the bank. But the fact that you had deficits, that's the reason why there's not a netting to 0 between the two.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Council, please? We did have one question which came from our engineer. We have several projects going on. One is a block grant, which I believe is secure, but we do have another particular plan that's supposed to be completed or started actually in 16. Is that something that we have to hold off on?
I don't know why you'd have to hold off on it. Like I said, the commission is not here to stop. to stop. I mean, the commission really wants you to succeed at whatever you're going on. But if there's any debt that has to be issued in conjunction with that, it will have to be approved by the commission now that you're in fiscal emergency.
So we don't move forward until
No,
this.
not if you have to issue debt. Because that commission has to approve that debt.
Okay. Good question from our council clerk. We have, I think, Nature, you mentioned something about applications for the folks that are residents. I don't know, Mayor, have you received those as yet?
I've received one.
But the form, there's a form application that we have to have?
Yeah, it's on the governor's website, I believe, and we can provide it if you'd like it. It's several pages of an application that each potential nominee for the commission would need to fill out, and then that's sent down to the governor's office. And the governor decides from the pool of names given who can be on the commission.
Okay, I'm sure we can find it if it's on the website. The other thing is, you had mentioned that, I was under the impression that once it was announced and we got our commission together, then the 120 days would start. Is that correct?
Yes.
I think I misheard that then. I thought you said it was in effect right now.
Once the
Okay.
commission has a meeting.
That's what I thought I read. Okay. All right.
When can you get the commission? Do we have to establish the commission? How many days do we have?
How many days do we have to establish it? I don't know if there's a time, is there a time, particular time zone that we have to?
Well, in statute, there is no set time.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I have one question.
Go ahead, Councilman Jones.
I just have one question. There are 6 different criteria, and we fell short in 2 of the conditions. If we fell short in only one of the conditions, would we have still been placed in emergency? So it wouldn't have mattered if our check was late or on time.
In 118, the 118 is made up so that in condition 1, 2, and 3, which is defaulting on debt, payroll, and mover inside millage, if you meet those at any point in time for more than 30 days, you would qualify for fiscal emergency. For 4, 5, and 6, the payables, the deficit funds, the treasury balance, you would have to meet those conditions at 12/31 and again at the date of determination. The date of determination for this city was January 31st. So you would have to meet those conditions at December 31st and January. So for the deficit funds, the city met the conditions at December 31st, and they also met it for January 31st. But for the debt, they just meet one time, and you would automatically qualify. We wouldn't have had to look at any other conditions. As long as you met 1, 2, or 3, you would automatically qualify for fiscal emergency.
Madam Chairman,
Go ahead, John.
I'm the law director, John. Hey, I just, as far as we're here, trying to pass a budget, I mean, is it too premature to pass a detailed budget at this point? I mean, should we wait for the commission? I mean, we have to keep operating.
Well, you've got to operate until that commission is seated. So you need to go ahead and do what you need to do until that commission is seated. Once the commission is in place, if the budget doesn't work, then you're going to have an opportunity to go back and fix it.
You could amend appropriations later. Right? So at this point, we should worry about continuing operations.
Absolutely,
And then we'll
yes.
fine tune it more later. I mean, I don't want to, we can try to fine tune it somewhat now, but we're not sure what the commission is going to recommend. So I just don't.
Well, remember, you're going to operate. The commission is just going to look at what you put together. And remember, as you put your budget together, that you're going to be working on a recovery plan. So I would try to make my budget work within that recovery plan, so you don't have all that work in the back end to do.
Gotcha.
So you need to keep that in mind when you put your budget in place if you have not already done so.
Any other questions here from, go ahead, Councilman
Madam
Trojanski.
President, one question. Now that the city has met the condition of fiscal emergency,
what are the resources, aside from the commission being formed and working with the city, what resources are available to the city from the auditor's office?
You have the resources of the entire auditor's office. But mainly you're going to have the resource of the Auditor of State's office is the financial supervisor for the commission and will be working with the city. So you're going to have the resources of these folks here in this room to work with the city to help you get back to solvency. You also will have work with the Attorney General's office, and the Office of Budget and Management will be available as well.
Madam President,
Go ahead, Councilman Adams.
we'll have the Attorney General on that. What about our delinquent property taxes?
Well, you need to wait until you get into commissioner's set to ask all those specific questions.
Madam Chairman, one more.
Go ahead.
I read somewhere that, we're limited, to a certain amount that we can contract for, otherwise we could be charged criminally. Do you know what that amount is by chance? I mean, we have union negotiations going on, I mean,
That's the first time I've heard that, so
Well, there's
I'm not
penalties.
familiar with that.
all right, so we're free to continue to negotiate our union contracts and enter into agreements to do anything we want to do, pretty much. Correct? Or is there a limit on the amount? I thought I read there was a limit on how much, no officer can sign actually I have it brought in the car. I can show it to you afterwards, but I just want to make sure that we're okay with, approving our garbage contract or our, our road project or whatever it might be.
Yeah, you just need to make sure that whatever you do complies with your recovery plan.
All right.
So you need to put a lot of thought into that recovery plan, because that's going to be your roadmap, and that's what audit is going to come in and audit you by, is that recovery plan, not 5705, since you're in fiscal emergency. It's going to be about what's in that recovery plan.
Madam President,
Go ahead, Mr. Browning.
the auditor's office provides performance auditing services. And I was wondering if those, I heard that they might not be available to us since we're already receiving services through Fiscal Emergency. We might not be able to double dip and receive also the performance auditing services. Can you speak to that?
It's something that is available, and if you're in fiscal emergency, it certainly is something that may be beneficial to the city. Who pays for it? That's a negotiable issue.
No freebies.
It could be.
It could be, okay, all right. Any other questions here? Okay, I think, and you are available, I'm sure, for additional questions once we get our ducks in a row and get busy on this. But thank you very much for coming up. We appreciate your time and all of your energy. And we wish we didn't have to see you, but we're going to work on it.
Madam Chair, one more question, just to be clear, we have 120 days from the date the commission is formed to come up with the plan. All right, just want to make sure. Okay, thank you.
All right. In that case, this meeting is adjourned at 6:40.